Mm, 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 mm. Mm, 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 mm. Mm, 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 mm,
Yep,
mm.
I know.
You got it?
Yeah. Do you think Nebula has a vagina still?
No, no. Uh, Thanos took that when he took her apart 1,000 times.
Yeah. When he was
Mm.
just tearing her up, he just I can't do it. That's like I mean, if you think about it, he said he's taking her piece by piece. I didn't think he'd take it like that.
Peace. He. I mean, all the technology that's in her body. I don't think there's room for that reproductive system.
No. What was the song? My listening comprehension, dude, I shit you not, is not good. It's
Dude, you said, oh, I got it. It's
well,
a
I knew what I was gonna say the whole time.
ain't no mountain high, ain't no valley low.
Great song. Don't
Yeah,
even know
so
what it's called.
that's ain't no mountain high. No,
Oh, but yeah. Ain't
um,
no man.
I was for everybody. I was humming a song from one of the Guardians movies, and I figured I'd give Hunter a fucking absolute layup. Other than maybe two other songs that are
Do you know what
by
song I think of every time I think of Guardians? He's like,
bow bum bum.
hey,
Yeah.
hey, do, do,
Bow,
do,
bum, bum,
do.
bow, bum, bum,
Yeah.
bum,
See,
bum,
like
bum,
that song, I
bum,
still don't
bum.
even know what that song's called. Isn't that Bruce Springsteen or something?
Come and get your love. No, dude.
I had one guess to
Let's
make
just let's
myself
just tap
sound
out
somewhat
here.
relevant, and I just
Yeah.
missed it completely.
The soundtracks are so good. It's all I've been listening to.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
that's it?
No. I've been listening to
Oh, see, we're out here lying now. Okay, yeah, so I don't have any good
50% of
lies.
what I say is true. 50%'s a lie.
That'd be a
There's a
good
lot of
podcast.
there's a that would be so good. I don't know if most of what I say anyway is the truth.
No.
We just talk on here.
Yeah.
But we're gonna talk Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, so if you haven't
It's
seen the new
been
movie, just fucking leave
yeah,
right now,
you
sucker.
got about 30 seconds before we start spewing some knowledge. But it's I think the spoil ban is probably over. It's been what 10, 11 days since the movie came out. Um,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
we're gonna talk on it. Do you, so I guess we should probably start.
Yeah, we shouldn't just spew our thoughts because I know that's what I'm gonna do. I have a list
Yeah.
of things and I know I'm just gonna word shit.
Do you want to go down your list, or do you want to go from the beginning of the movie to the end?
Let's just go for first. Let's go overall, like 30-second elevator talk review of the movie.
Honestly, for me, it was I have it third on my list. I'm a crazy big fan of all three movies are in my top 10 of the MCU movies. I just think being a real big nerd of the Marvel universe, I saw a lot of it coming, and as far as Rocket's story, but James Gunn made it even better. Um, and just the character development, it was bittersweet at the end because a lot of characters go their separate ways and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw it twice, and I still think it's just next level. It's to me, I'd say it's what Thor: Love and Thunder wanted to be. Thor: Love and Thunder had one of the biggest villains in Marvel Comics history, and they fumbled the bag. And Thor was way too funny, and they try to have emotion at the end, but it was just a little off. And then the Guardians had a big villain, but not nearly as well known as Gore the God Butcher, and then just made him absolutely disgusting. And it made you just, the whole movie made you love characters, and they balanced the comedy and the emotion like crazy.
Yeah, that was more than 30 seconds. I was like probably like 35 to 40, just so you know. So we'll have to work on that.
I'm fired.
Also, I can't see you right now. I think Riverside did an update where if your internet gets bad, oh, I see you again. You just popped up. Hey,
Okay.
Drake. I think it just makes the video go away and it keeps the audio cooking, and that makes it way easier. Because if it was like audio and video, like trying and like glitching a bit, like I hope
Like
that's a real update. Because that,
when it normally does, and
yeah,
it's just one of us
we just have
spewing.
to guess if the other person can
Yeah.
hear what we're saying.
Well, that's fine because nothing happened on my end. So here's your turn. Guardians review. Go
Perfect.
overall.
All right. So overall, very good movie. Definitely the best Marvel trilogy. I think it's by default in some ways, but the best Marvel trilogy. Um, I think it had everything I wanted to, besides that one like over the top scene of action that makes you like almost like you can feel it in your fucking inside, and
Hmm.
then another scene where you like cry. And I got like it was a little emotional at times, but it wasn't like I wanted to just do a little bit more. And I think the issue with this one was with Thor Love and Thunder, the expectations were super high, but right away the critics were like, let's temper that. Here's why.
Yeah.
Guardians was like everyone's like, nah, this is the fucking shit.
Hmm.
So I don't want to shit on it because I do have it in I think it's number 7 for me right now, but I have to see it
Yeah.
again.
Hmm.
Um I just I don't know. I even went sober, dude. Like I was ready to just indulge that movie. And I don't know. Like I said,
So
it's
I'll
9 out
say
of 10. I just think my
yeah.
issue is I wanted literally 10 out of 10 because of
Hmm.
Marvel's been lacking. And I think that was
Yeah.
part of the issue too.
Well, also, I think people say so. I have a bunch of things to say back. I think people say Marvel's been lacking, but then Wakanda Forever was a mid tier movie. Shang-Chi was great. Like people forget that these movies came out after No Way Home also came after. So they were making good movies, but then not all of them are great. And because people became fans after Infinity War and that cliffhanger, and then they saw it all come together in Endgame,
Yeah,
they like
tough.
it's like we want to see that, right? We want to see that every time, but you don't understand that we had to go through Thor Dark World, Ant-Man, like they're okay
Yeah, all
good,
these
they're
like
good
mid-tier
movies. But
movies.
the thing that makes it is, you want all these movies to be really good, but the thing that makes it is when you're like, holy shit, how did Ant-Man connect to fucking Iron Man, like shit like that.
Yeah.
um and so what I would say is Iron Man, as far as the trilogies go, Thor's got 4 movies, but Ragnarok's elite. The other two are okay.
Yeah.
Ant Man's out. Spider
Avengers
Man,
has 4.
yeah,
I don't know if you said
Spider
that
Man,
already.
Spider Man's good, but the Captain
Yes.
America
I
trilogy, I
say
think that the first Captain America is a little slow, but it's a good story.
yeah.
Winter Soldier is one of my favorite because it's just like an espionage movie on steroids, and then Civil War is almost a fucking Avengers movie.
Yeah, it
So I
literally.
thought before Guardians that it was the best trilogy, but now it's I wouldn't say Guardians is easily the best trilogy, but like I didn't have to really think about it after I saw the third movie. And then my last thing about what you said with the movie is James Gunn was so attached to these characters that came out of left field. I remember in like 2013 I saw the first trailer for Guardians, and I was like, I just started watching Marvel. I watched the Avengers and I'm like, it's really cool, but you didn't. And then I saw Guardians and I was like, what in the fuck is this? I
Yeah.
was like, I read comics growing up and I know what the Guardians of the Galaxy was. And so he took these characters, and instead of that big moment that you wanted it to be like I have to save the universe like they did in the first 2 movies, he made it so much more personal. It wasn't about that because they were
Yeah.
already established. They didn't have to save the universe again. And if you watch the first movie and the second movie, it was like Rocket was really the main character, the secret protagonist, like the whole time. And
Yeah.
James Gunn even said that. So I know what you're saying. It was like a big climax, and I wanted to see maybe a little bit more of a battle with the High Evolutionary. But I don't think he's dead. They didn't show
No.
him, right?
I
I
don't
don't
think
think
he's dead either.
yeah. So I know what you're saying. It was not necessarily anticlimactic, but it wasn't about him. It was about Rocket's story, and I think he's gonna be back. So it was just more personal, and I loved that. I thought that he was so fucking vile too. Like there was moments where he was talking to Rocket, and you're like, oh, he's being nice to Rocket, and then he grabbed his face
Yeah.
talked about how nasty, like a piece of shit he was. He's like, we're going for perfection. He's like, and you're halfway there. And then he just
Yeah.
gets up and like throws him off his lap and walks away.
Thought he was gonna go up on his own planet, and he just
Yeah,
grabs him. He's like, "Look at you! No one wants you!"
yeah.
Like,
What do you say? You look like you were put together by like fat thumbed kids or something. It was so sad. I felt it. I felt the emotions more than you did, I think.
Yeah, and I think just to bounce off part what you said, I think one of the things that I really did like about the movie is it had like an Infinity War Endgame vibe to where you could literally
Mhm.
feel the entire story playing out, and they were bouncing
Yeah.
from like person to person, story to story, time to time, and you're like
Mhm.
learning all these things, and you literally are just watching it come together as one at
Mhm.
the end.
Yeah.
And that lead would lead us into Rocket's story.
Mhm.
That was super sad, and like
Yeah.
not just for like anyone, like not just for animals, like for
Mhm.
anyone, and
Yeah.
like the fact that in a Marvel movie they had like Rocket and his hilariously ugly animal friends
Yeah.
growing together and they just shoot them square in the head like
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
I when I saw that when the otter went down Lila I
Mhm.
was like oh this is like kind of like James Bond vibes now. Like, what? Like, is
Yeah.
Rocket about to go off?
And that was another scene that like so I saw it twice and I teared up at that part both times because
It's so
you
sad.
see you see how happy Rocket is, right? And he's just naive. He's so smart, but he's not as naive as you thought because he was collecting those parts to make the key card at the same time.
Yeah.
But so he makes his friends and he's all happy and you know I I was really really hoping that uh Lila didn't die.
I know.
I was hoping in the trailers when it showed them hugging, it was them reconnecting.
Yeah,
And then
it was
so
not.
when he got shot, well, yeah, when she got shot, you see Rocket turn around, he breaks down and see that they all died or whatever, and he's like crying, and then you see the High Evolutionary like mock his cry, like well, what? And it's like that was a moment that like your heart's like breaking, and you're like, holy shit, like this dude literally doesn't give a fuck.
No.
And then that was when you saw Rocket
Turn on him.
his face went from like that innocent and you could see it and he immediately turned into like that asshole that he's been for the
Yeah.
first two movies that we saw and then he fucking tore his face off.
Tore it up. Tore that shit to Nebula. What are you looking at? What's the update?
The
Are they,
Spurs got the fucking number one overall pick.
they did?
The Spurs,
Oh.
what have the Spurs done to deserve that? Like Houston hasn't won any championships. Sorry, we're going off the rails here because it just happened live, but the Spurs just got number one overall pick and the one by Anna.
Wait, dude,
Insane.
what did Detroit get? Did they get like the fifth or sixth pick or something? Because he seemed pissed.
Oh my god, yeah. It was Hornets, Blazers, and then Rockets. So they must have got like the fifth pick, Detroit.
Well, that sucks.
Dude, I'm sick of seeing the Hornets too. Michael Jordan's probably not even gonna draft Scoot at number two. He's gonna draft he's gonna redraft
They
Adam
probably
Morrison or some
they might
shit.
they might have to trade it because someone's gonna want Scoot. All right,
Dude.
back to Guardians.
Yeah, back to
Good
Guardians.
good for Pop.
So
Um,
if yeah, go with Rocket Story.
yeah, I was just gonna say more like well, one comment I wanted to make is Rocket's baby voice very cute.
Oh
When he
yeah.
was like helping them solve equations and
Mhm.
stuff as like the little guy, very cute, very cute.
Yeah.
Uh, um, what did I say? I think what bothered me the most about it was right when Rocket almost dies and he's kind of seeing Lila in the gates to
Mhm.
heaven or whatever you want to fucking think.
The Forever.
Yeah, I think we all knew she was gonna pull some like it's not your time or like he was gonna snap out of it, but
Mhm.
I still think I don't know I wanted more closure from my guy, dude. Like I get that he's happy with the rest of the Guardians now, but I
For
want
who?
like
Closure for who?
for Rocket, dude. I want him to like get neck or something, dude. Like
From Lila?
from someone, dude. Like
Dude, dude,
he
I
wants it, dude.
I think that his connection with those people was so much more than that sexy otter hands, those metal otter hands. Which it's a shame that they took away the otter hands. You see, like at zoos, there you can like hold hands with an otter.
Yeah, it's like the
That's like
cutest
half
thing
of the
ever.
reason you hold that you like otters.
Well,
I fucking yeah.
that's probably why they fucking took it, dude.
Mm.
Just like they made the bunny look like a spider, dude. They gave that thing 8 prongs out of its back, like it didn't just need
Yeah,
like four. Like,
dude, I'll tell you what that scene was one of the ones that you know teared me up too because Rocket's like so self-deprecating, and you can see when he's mean in the first two movies, it's because he's like making up for that. He doesn't trust anybody, but he also had to live 5 years during Endgame with, all of his losing his friends for the second time. So you see
Yeah.
him change over after Volume 2 and Endgame. So he is not a complete asshole anymore. He trusts his friends and whatnot. But when that happened and he came back to life, and you can see Gamora like actually care. She sees that they're actually a family,
Yeah.
and then Groot couldn't even get close enough, so he wrapped even more of his branches around him. I was like, oh. But
Squad.
yeah, and then so like to start the movie, so I'm huge on the music in these movies. To start the
Hmm.
movie, fucking Creep played over the acoustic version when Rocket was hanging out, and it's like such a self-deprecating song, and it's that set the tone for the entire movie, because the first two movies it's a very upbeat music, and like
Yeah, and this one
like there
takes a
was a
step
lot of
back.
color in this music, but it was in a darker way as
Yeah.
well. And like I absolutely love the opening scene. And then fucking it showed Peter Quill was just hammered off his ass because he's still depressed about Gamora.
Yeah. No, that was. I need to see it again. That's part of the
Yeah,
thing. But
yeah.
my next
Well, because
comment is, I
the
do think.
second time, I will say real quick, the
Yeah, go
second time you
ahead.
see it too, you're not like focused on what is going to happen. You know what's going to happen, so you can
Yeah,
focus on the detail more.
yeah.
Yeah.
Second time seeing through is always almost just as enjoyable as the first, maybe
Mhm.
more, if not.
Yeah.
Do you think anyone from PETA has seen the movie? Because a
Oh
lot of
yeah,
kids,
dude.
a lot of kids are going to be seeing that.
Yeah. I think I've seen some stuff on Twitter about people saying shit or whatever, and it's like, dude, A, it's fake. B, it's overcoming all of that, right? Like it's not a glorifying story. It's like about overcoming that shit. So fuck
Yeah,
PETA.
I mean, I feel like you can kill a human before you can kill like an animal on
I
TV.
know there. It's so weird, but it's something about that. It's that the animals are so innocent, and humans can actually think for themselves, and they're still just awful. And it's like, oh, the person just died, huh? It's like, oh
Yeah,
my god, that otter got her arms cut
the
off.
otter named Lila, like.
Yeah. My name's Floor because I'm lying on the floor.
I forgot about their names.
You can call me Teefs because we all have them, but mine are more prominent.
That's
Uh,
great.
Thanks, man.
My next point that threw me for a complete loop, and I think it's because of, I think it's Guardians 2. Guardians 2 is
Mhm.
at the end is where you see Adam Warlock, right? Being like created.
It's in his cocoon, yeah.
Yeah, in his cocoon. So I thought that was literally going to be like the main part of
Hmm.
this entire movie. Like I thought he was the villain, and then it's like, how do we take this guy down? So one, the character that they picked, the kid from We're the Millers, is fucking hilarious. So I couldn't take him seriously at
Yeah.
first. Um, but I think he's an interesting character because he's one, like I said, I thought he was going to be bad the entire time. So to
Hmm.
watch his arc develop, and then he ends up, as a member of the Guardians by the end of the movie. I'm really excited to see where that goes.
Hmm.
But like I said, it was kind of a shock for me to not, like, I thought he was going to be super powerful. Like I
Hmm.
didn't even know about the High Evolutionary like before I saw the movie. So
Yeah.
like I said, I thought he was the villain. I don't even think I saw the trailer to the movie. Actually, that's a
See,
lie. I
I
did.
wish I was like that, because then I get all hyped up and I'm like waiting and waiting and what
Yeah,
like
looking
when I
up
when I saw
stuff.
the first trailer back in December. So and being a comic fan, I knew about Adam Warlock. I knew about the High Evolutionary, and obviously doing more research after I see the trailers, and I saw they brought out the High Evolutionary at Comic Con too. So I started like looking into it more.
Yeah,
Uh, and so in the comics, Adam Warlock ends up being good, and he doesn't. He's he's an integral part in the Infinity Saga and defeating Thanos,
oh,
and he actually has the Soul Stone in his forehead
oh,
in the
really?
comics. But they weren't ready to
Yeah,
introduce Adam Warlock in number two like they thought they were going to. So they had to switch it up, and they put it in Vision and whatnot. That's why he had that bolt in his forehead in this
yeah,
movie. So the other thing is, they wanted this story was about introducing Adam Warlock, and I know what your
Yeah,
expectations were, but it was about introducing him and giving him room to grow. I think
and he
so
has a
like
ton of room to grow.
yeah, because I think him being that sort of character, not being in the Infinity Saga, it's more tricky to grow his character if you just make him ready made because he's kind of like a really well spoken British guy and he's just a
Yeah,
badass and he can kind of like kill anybody, because he's like that powerful. So making him come out younger and before and having to like grow at his brain and grow his like powers, that gives him room to grow. But like a couple times, like when he first came in, first of all, the song that he had when he was flying in was sick.
yeah.
And then when he got in there, he got stabbed or whatever, but like he ran through everybody.
Oh yeah,
And then it was just they did so much at the end of the movie to make him not a factor on purpose, so it could be more about the Guardians. And I like that they gave him room to grow, but I too agree. I think if I had one thing to say, I wish that he was a little less like silly.
yeah. It
But I
wasn't
actually
it. It wasn't a disappointment as much as it was a shock. Because
yeah,
like I
yeah,
said, I literally just thought he was going to be the bad guy of the movie. So
yeah.
like when you go in thinking that, and then it's
Mm,
just like you're like, oh, he could still be like
mhm,
this, and then I'm like, oh no, this
yeah.
movie's not about him.
Mhm. And I thought he was going to be bad, and I knew at some point he was going to turn good. My shock was that he acted like a 10-year-old, But I was surprised. I think that God, I can't even think of his name now. The kid from We Are the Millers. I think he got fucking huge for the movie, and I think that he's gonna end up being really good for that role.
I agree. No, I like now that I know it's more of an expansive role and that he's just going to be
Mm,
like once they get their own movie, I think it's going to be really cool watching kind of that whole team grow.
yeah.
Um, do you have anything else you want to say? Because I was going to push that into one other thing.
I got a ton to say. So
Well, yeah, no,
you
I have a bunch of stuff still on my thing.
as far as
We'll
Adam
go.
Warlock, I'm good.
No, I'm good on the Adam Warlock. I just want to move over to the High Evolutionary, and I'll just
Mm,
let you say uh, what you want to say first because you know so much more about it, and
mm.
then you can kick it over to me.
Yeah, I mean, even when it just came from him, um, destroying the planet at the end, like when you can tell he was so obsessed with just Rocket, because his thing was, when he said there is no God, that's why I stepped in. I was like, like, because when Peter Quill was saying, I don't need another whack job that his mother didn't love him, telling me his plan to
Yeah,
destroy the universe. He's like, I don't want to destroy it, I want to cure it, I want to perfect it. And um he was so evil and obsessed, and he only got more evil because he got obsessed with Rocket, because every time he was trying to create the perfect society and he would blow it up, there was failure. And I think it was I should have put it together that he created the Sovereign, because the Sovereign are not in the comics.
yeah,
They're not MCU. So I just thought James Gunn was like, oh, here, it's kind of cool. And so that's why Adam Warlock worked with him and whatnot. But then he was so obsessed with going after Rocket, and probably pissed off because his face looked like shit. He had that little mask on, but that he made so many upgrades to his body and his armor, and whatnot. But I think he was pretty perfect for the role. I seen him. I don't know if you've seen Peacemaker either. James Gunn made
oh yeah, I've
Peacemaker
seen
at
Peacemaker.
DC. He's the lead detective, and he was the first Butterfly or whatever, and he was kind of bad in that, but ended up being good. And so I just thought he was a really good actor, and he just did a really really good job of being basically a psychopath and switching from, he kind of looks nice, like he's being okay right now, to just saying, I'm, yeah, like with a straight face, like he's like, what do we do with the rest of batch 89? He's like, incinerate him. Like, what are you
Yeah,
talking about? Yeah, but yeah, go ahead.
yeah. I mean, you pretty much said my tiny bit of thoughts that I have in there with him.
Yeah.
No, I mean, McStretchy face, super strong. I what would he do? It was like a laser in his arms. Or what was he?
He basically had the ability to control gravity.
Oh yeah, because I remember because he kept slamming Rocket all over the place at the end.
Yeah, but and then it was so fucking cool to see. Well, first of all, right in the beginning of the movie, Rocket had his anti gravity boots, and
Yeah,
then you're like, oh, that's kind of cool. But it's you and you know when Marvel throws something in there and they
it's
say it
gonna be used again.
specifically, yeah, it's gonna be used again. So they used it when they went to the Orgo Corp, and you're like, oh shit, that's so cool. That's why they're using these right now. And then he's when the High Evolutionary at the end was holding Rocket up there, he smacked the anti gravity boot too, and he was like, "Oh yeah."
Oh yeah. No, I did like him. Oh, I actually had something I was gonna say. I think it was kind of like in the Thor movie with not even Thor, Kang from Ant Man,
Mhm.
where
Yeah.
he definitely displayed that he can be basically the most powerful guy in the movie.
Hmm.
Um, but all I wrote in my notes is anyone that kills animals is kind of a piece of shit.
Yeah.
So it kind of goes back to where you said, where like he would do a little bit of like, oh, like I know we're trying to find what's best for you, this, and it's
Hmm.
like, oh yeah, incinerate that batch that I
Yeah.
made 98% perfect. They have
Hmm.
no need to live anymore.
Yeah.
And then when he's like telling them he's gonna let them all go free and make this perfect planet for them to roam on, and then he's just like,
Hmm.
oh no, not you, you're fucking a piece of shit.
He's like you can understand the inner workings of whatever this machine. He's like, but you didn't understand that. He's like, look at you. And that's when he said you look like you've been put together by fat thumbed kids or something like that. And I was like, dude,
He's just so mean, and he's
yeah,
obsessed with Rocket because he's jealous of him.
yeah, because he had no idea why his machine wasn't working. It was like the some sort of proteins that was producing the aggressiveness and the animals. And Rocket was like, oh, we just gotta fix this.
Oh, mister, you just gotta go over here and put the thing in there and it's a compartment.
the
He's like,
best thing
oh.
too the best thing too is that Rocket's so smart, but his grammar is awful. And he's like, "You can't," and he's like, "Can't," and it almost sounds like he calls him a cunt. Can't. Uh,
Can't.
then so I saw you mentioned did you say you wanted like there to be like more power like displayed by like characters
Yeah. Like a
because
little more pop.
what I did think and they rarely do it for the Guardians of the Galaxy characters, but also at the same time, I think sometimes why you don't see their power is because they're also not going up against humans all the time, you know? So, did you watch the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special?
No, I didn't watch any of the things. Like any of
So
the Groots or
it's
the
like an
holiday
hour
special.
it's like an hour special, and they go down to Earth because Peter's all depressed about Gamora, and they kidnap Kevin Bacon because that's his like footloose hero.
Oh yeah.
Drax and Mantis do, and they go down there to Earth, and they break into Kevin Bacon's house and like steal him and shit. And the cops get called, and they're like shooting Drax and Mantis, and the bullets are just like popping off of them.
Yeah.
So, and then they're like just like picking up like Drax is like picking up police cars and shit. They're so strong, but then they don't live on our planet. You know, they're facing other people that are not humans. So I think
Yeah.
that's why sometimes you don't see that power. But
True.
they did. I know Drax ended up getting his ass beat by Adam Warlock, but like he was going toe to toe with him for a minute, and Adam
Oh
Warlock is
yeah.
like one of the most powerful guys in the MCU. So I mean I did like that.
I
It's just
yeah.
I know what you're saying because they don't show it all the time. To whereas like they started to show like Captain America after like the first movie Captain America was so nuked it was kind of bad. Like
It was so
like,
bad.
the movie was good, but it was
Yeah.
they didn't show him doing anything with his power other than like jumping over a fence. You know, and then in the you know the second movie or like Civil War, I think is the movie. He's holding the fucking helicopter and he's on the
Yeah,
helipad.
and it shows he can go toe to toe with Iron Man. They're like, okay,
Yeah.
we got to make
So it's
sure
like
people know.
shit like that happens with the Guardian. So I know what you're saying. It's like I want to see more, but I get why. And James Gunn is such a comic book fan that, and he's also a fan of the Guardians and developing their story that he wants to stay true to that rather than absolutely giving everything as fan service.
Yeah. Now, I mean, what am I gonna say? Every time I make a bad point, you're like, "Hey, here's why you're a little wrong about that." And then after you say it, I'm like, "Well, fair."
Yeah. All right. Well, what was your what was, so one of my beefs immediately coming out before I had time to think and then go see the movie again was about Gamora. What are your thoughts there?
I was as a lovebird myself, I was very upset Gamora and Star Lord didn't end up together at the end. Um, I actually didn't mind how they arced her throughout the entire movie, where it was like, nah, cold, 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 warming
Yeah.
up a little bit, and then it's like
Hmm.
kind of sees that this was her family. There, she's seeing the reasons that she loved being a part of them, and
Hmm.
starts to see certain things in Peter, but at the end she just leaves with the Ravagers, and then I
Hmm.
learned that Zoe Saldana is done with the role. So I was
Yeah.
like, oh, they really just like are fucking me there.
Yeah.
In terms of her, like, I don't her, she's badass, she's a good fighter, but
Hmm.
like she wasn't one of my favorite characters. So I liked learning more about her. I like seeing her play off Nebula too, and as they
Hmm.
became kind of closer.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I was pretty hurt that her and Peter didn't end up together.
Yeah, so I left the theater and I was like kind of upset about that too because you see how hard they had to work through the first two movies. Like they had to literally save the galaxy twice for them to kind of realize that they loved each other or whatever.
Yeah,
And I think that's part of the reason why. So part of the reason I think is that Zoe Saldana is she only wanted to play the role for a certain amount of time, but also it kind of sucks when you're building this universe and James Gunn had to be like, I think he was updated in due time that Gamora was going to die, but they nuked one of his characters, and so
yeah,
I'm sure that didn't change the story a ton because it wasn't going to be the third movie wasn't going to be about Gamora and Star Lord. It was going to be about Rocket. So
yeah,
if anything, she was just going to be along for the ride and they were going to be cool and Nebula, blah blah blah. So it actually probably helped her story more because through the first two movies she was fleshed out. It was and Infinity War it was like her too.
yeah,
So I loved Gamora and Quill together, but when I got out of there, I kept thinking, what are they gonna get back together? And you can, like you said, you can slowly see him. She starts to like crack a smile. They hug at the end, blah blah
yeah.
blah.
Like
But
things.
but then I got to think, James Gunn likes to make things more personal too and more realistic for people to relate to, and it seemed like here. Yeah, there might be a chance for them to get back together in the future. Like maybe Zoe Saldana will make a appearance in like 5 years because Star Lord is going to return. So maybe they'll make an appearance down the line and they'll be back together, or they'll find some shit like that. Like she'll sign like a one movie deal or something like that.
Yeah,
Um, but I think a lot of it was supposed to be more like a metaphor for like people like just drifting apart or something like that too, because that shit happens all the time in real life, and they kind of left it in a limbo to where they seemed like they were okay, even though it broke my heart. She's like, I bet we were fun, and he said, like you wouldn't believe. I was like, oh,
yeah.
you gotta be fucking with me,
Dude,
man.
because I was just gonna say that, like, they tried to make that scene the part where it makes you like, oh, this tug the heartstrings, and I was like,
Hmm.
dude, that's it. I was like, that's corny as fuck. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
As they're like walking past each other, like the dude
yeah.
that turn around, I'm like, yeah, fuck you. Like,
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying as like, you want the happy ending, right? But that's not his Gamora, and you see that like I said, they had to go through two galaxy saving missions for the original Gamora to even realize they'd only been around each other for a week.
yeah,
The movie happened within 50 hours, right?
true.
And so they had talked in Endgame, and she disappeared, and he was immediately looking. So like they haven't been around each other like that, and so I think there would have been more questions of she was the baddest bitch on the planet, the deadliest woman in the galaxy, and it took her what from 2014, and the second movie came out in 2017, which is really cool that they had the same timeline as us. It's not like Star Wars is amazing and a lot of people build their shit off that, but it's like in a galaxy far far away, there's no actual year. Now it's
Yeah, you
like
can. Yeah, you
they
can
met each
actually
other in
touch on it.
2014, and at the end of 2017 they were like in love. They'd only been around each other for like a week, so I get it, but it
Yeah,
sucks. I wanted to see them together so bad.
yeah. And then you touched on Drax too. Dude, I
Hmm.
don't know if I was just had the gigs or something, but he was hilarious in the
Dude,
third movie. Like, and he's funny in
he
the other two, but
Oh
he
yeah.
was absolutely fucking hilarious in the new
I
one.
thought, and again, I'm gonna, we can always put out our updated MCU rankings or whatnot too. But like I said, I have it at number three, and that's after seeing it twice, and I am on a bit of a high right now, so there's a chance it moves. But I put it ahead of Winter Soldier, and I don't take that lightly. So I have it
Yeah.
at number three, and I don't think it's gonna move because, like I said, it's got the highs, it's got the lows, it's got the music, the fucking humor was so funny. Drax. So when they snuck into the Orgo Corp and they saw Nathan Fillion, and I saw you said something about their like weird Power Ranger suits.
Yeah.
They were like that organic material because that's what they were like guarding and whatnot too.
Yeah.
And they snuck in there, and you see Quill just thinking, and he's like, "What the hell?" And then Drax starts saying some dumb shit. He's like, "Yeah, look at these stupid jumpsuits that blend in with other people's skins better than others, or whatever." And then Quill's like, "Yeah, that's the boss's nephew." And Nathan Fillion's like, "Oh yeah, we both got one of those." And
Yeah, we got one of those too.
he starts talking shit about him right there, and he's like, because the scene before Nathan Fillion made something up, and the other guy's like, "Oh yeah," and he's like, "No, you don't, because I just made that up." And then he goes, "Oh, I thought you said something else." He's like, "No,
Yeah.
you didn't." And then so skip to the next scene. He's like, "Yeah, we got one of those," and he looks at him and he's like, "Ugh." And then he's like, This guy's doing great though." He's like, every time this guy does something, I want to wring his neck, and he's doing it all. And then and then as soon as they leave, like that scene is absolutely incredible. As soon as they leave, Mantis is like, "Guys, our uniforms or whatever, spacesuits," and they're all yelling at Mantis. And then uh Drax is like, "Mantis, you asshole," because he doesn't understand. Like they mention it in the first one when they're like, he's like a walking thesaurus. His people can't like gather information like that; it'll go right over his head. And he's like, "Nothing will go over my head. I'm too fast. I'll catch it."
Yeah, too badly
Reflex,
catch it.
so he has got no idea about that, like actual like kind of like thinking. And so
Yeah.
he's like, "Are we all yelling at Mantis again?" And then he's like smiling. He's like, "Mantis, you asshole." Dude, it was so funny. And just
His
like the way they were able to go from like the emotional scene of Quill talking to Gamora, and he thought he was only on her comm, but he was talking to everybody. And then they're like, we were all cringing too, and they were like, "Oh my god, we were just hoping it would stop." And I thought, go ahead about Drax, but I thought Mantis was amazing too.
Yeah, she was. I guess more just last thing about Drax. Now I forgot what I was gonna say. Go ahead with your Mantis. This
Dude, yeah. Well, so
is what I do because I have a thought in my head and then I let you talk and then I
and
try to
then
like and
and
then
then
I
I
well then I think of a new thought to respond to you and then
yeah.
I'm like all my thought. Oh no, the only thing I was gonna say is I think what really set the difference between this and the new Thor was I think Thor is always just trying to be too funny and it's this
Hmm.
like dumb funny
Hmm.
where like the lines they give Drax and the jokes they write for him are so like
Yeah.
unintentionally witty
Hmm.
that you have no way of seeing it coming and it just that's why it ends up being so funny is because it actually
Yeah.
like you think about it surprises you and then it's like it's
Yeah.
hilarious.
Well, and so there's a lot that goes into that too. So it's the Guardians, right? And then it's just Thor. The Guardians have each other to work off of, and they've built that chemistry in the past, and all the movies are kind of the same. To where Thor is like, we tried this movie sucked. This
Yeah,
movie was
they're
great. We
just
tried this, and then we
dude's
tried.
Play-Doh.
They tried to do another kind of Ragnarok, but up the ante, and it didn't work, and it was just Thor, right? So and it also doesn't help that Thor's a god, and we know he's not going to die, right?
Yeah.
You are able to connect with some of these characters that we go to the movie
Yeah, because
thinking
they're mortal.
Drax might die. I thought Drax was going to die in the
Everyone thought
movie
Drax was gonna die.
because, and I think a lot of people thought it was either going to be Drax or Rocket, and I'm glad it ended up being this way. But I thought Drax was going to die so he could be with his wife Yvette and his daughter Camaria, because they died early on. But the way that they kept him alive, I and had him basically be a dad to all those kids, I thought was amazing. But yeah, it's crazy how you're just able to connect with that sense of humor rather than his sense of humor can be dumb, but he's like aware of it,
Yeah,
or we are, to where we're not really sure what they're doing with Thor. So when he's making these dumb jokes, it's like it's so hit or miss,
facts.
Yeah. So
There he goes again, dude, just dismantling my points.
no, no, no. I was helping your point.
No, you were.
I just doubled down on it. But then Drax and Mantis work together so well. That's why when he was crying when she left, I was like, "Oh my god, dude!" Like Dave Bautista is a fucking good actor,
Yeah, he's a
and
really
and
good
and
actor.
he's gonna be in a lot of other shit. Um, but dude, I thought Mantis. I thought she didn't do much in Infinity War. She was kind of just talking a little bit here and there, and she was coming out of her shell, and she was just more weird in Volume 2. But this movie and in the if you I think you would have got a better sense for her too if you would have watched the special, because a lot of it was Drax and Mantis and how
Mm.
they worked off each other, and it only made this movie better. And I thought she was so funny in like a weird way. And then she also brought like the emotion when she would fucking yell at Nebula and shit.
Yeah, and she was strong, dude. In the beginning of the movie, she
Yeah.
was like kicking people's ass, and I was like, oh, like
Yeah.
I didn't know if that was gonna be a thing. She was
And
a
well,
busting lips.
dude, in the comics, Mantis, I can't remember what like level or what type it is, but she's like insanely strong. So like they nuked her. But then you also got to see how strong she was because she fucking put to sleep Ego the Living Planet. So they have to find their alleyway, and I wonder if they bought
They can,
themselves time to see whether they want to bring her back or not, because she works with the Guardians, but also in the comics at some point she gets with Vision, so maybe she's gonna go off and find White Vision.
that'd be kind of sick.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of cool. Yeah, I would be perfectly cool with her sticking around in pretty much any capacity. I
Oh
like her
yeah.
character a lot. I like what she brings to the movies, and she doesn't have to be a dominant character to have like
Mhm.
significant scenes.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think she works really well as like the secondary character, and in this movie everybody got their moment to shine. It was Rocket's story, even, and it's crazy because even though he wasn't in half the movie, they showed all of his flashbacks and stuff, and it was his story and he was the main character. But during that time of him being the main character, they were able to show other people's shit too. And like
Yeah,
Nebula might have the best arc. So like, because I thought Captain America and Tony Stark's stories were probably the two best. Peter Quill his is still going to continue, but Nebula's has rounded out. They did. We didn't get a lot of background on Drax. He was just such a good side character, and then they ended it well for him. And this movie was about Rocket, but I think Nebula, Rocket, Tony, and Steve Rogers have the best stories. Easy, like arcs. Like Nebula went from being the secondary villain in the first movie that just yelled all the time and we didn't like, to in the second movie we understood, you know, why she was such an asshole to Gamora, because Gamora kicked her ass all the time and she got
yeah,
taken
caused
apart.
her to get tortured.
Mhm. And she didn't trust anybody. And then we got to see her in Endgame and Infinity War because she didn't get dusted. And her and Rocket made that bond. So when she found out that Rocket was alive, she cried when they were on the high
Yeah,
evolutionary ship. And it was like, dude, that. And then she stayed, and you know, they slowly started taking the metal off of her face too to make her seem more human and stuff.
yeah,
And so I think that she's like a secondary character that is so under the radar and so good.
yeah. Nebula's awesome. What'd you think of Cosmo? Because I think that's probably the most like I've heard a lot of differing opinions there.
So I think the issue for, and I don't have the issue because they they showed they showed Cosmo in the first Guardians movie, but she wasn't animated. It was actually just a dog on nowhere with the collector in the spacesuit. And they show when Rocket walks by, they're gonna sell the collector the power stone. They growl at each other. And it's in like a cage or whatever. And so I didn't know if Cosmo was going to be in here ever, but again, they introduced her in the special because they filmed both
Oh,
at
they
the same.
did.
Yeah, they filmed both at the same time, but the special came out 6 months earlier.
Yeah.
So it wasn't absolutely necessary to see, but it showed them that they bought nowhere. That's why they lived there. So if you didn't watch a special,
Oh.
you didn't know that they were. It's like, why are they on nowhere? It's because they bought it,
Oh
and
damn.
they were making the civilization like there, because before it was just, there was no regulations on nowhere. It was a bar, it was whatever, the collector
Yeah.
owned it. And so they made it their own, and so Cosmo came along with that, and we met her in the special. And so I like Cosmo. I don't think that, it's a dog, and I don't know what capacity they're going to use her, so I don't think you need a big intro.
Yeah.
But
I don't
Cosmo's
think.
super powerful, and I'm playing the
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy game, and so it's a mixture of the MCU and the comics. So I'm still learning more about Cosmo in specific, and the Guardians too.
Yeah. I think they did a really good job at making Cosmo not too important of a character while
Yeah.
also showing how powerful she is, and then also just making her a fucking dog. Where she's
Yes.
like
Yeah.
in the entire movie Kraglin won't call her a good go say
Mm-hmm.
he's a good girl or saying she's a good dog. And it's like through the entire movie, like you can tell it's an actual dog because she's
Please, yeah.
so disappointed that he won't
They're
say
like,
he's a good dog.
please. They're like,
Like,
please
dude,
just call
just
her a good
tell
dog. She's like, oh, she won't stop talking about it. And then obviously it
Oh
was it was corny there at the end when, his Kraglin's destiny was to learn the arrow, and that was cool or whatever. But when it was corny, but it was cool when he called her a good dog, and they smushed one of the what are the hell, what are those ones called that look disgusting? They were called the hell species or something. I
yeah.
can't even think of it. But yeah, so I liked Cosmo. I think it was just a little side character, and again, watching the, you should just wait at this point and then watch the Christmas special next Christmas.
Okay.
Yeah,
Can I not watch it if it's not Christmas?
no, you can watch it right now if you wanted to,
Would it
because it
still
would
be
still,
good?
yeah, it would still help.
Alright.
It's because it's just about them trying to cheer up Quill and bring him the Christmas spirit.
Yeah.
Um, but then another thing that was so like, I think that some of the music, some people might not be as high on it as they were the first two movies, because it was a completely different tone. So I also think that those first two and the first two movies had the um soundtrack that was so popular that our generation will know most of them right away. But there were some songs that I didn't know that I love now, because you know it gives, like, I might hear a random song from like the 80s that my parents had on, but if I don't have anything to associate it with, or like any reason to like it, or nostalgia, then it doesn't matter. But like there's
Yeah.
some songs on the Guardians, it's like, oh, now I associate it with, like, I've heard the Dog Days Are Over a fucking 100,000 times, and it was like, oh, that's like a cool poppy song, whatever. But I'm not gonna turn it on, and now I'll turn it on, and I just like associate it with being like happy, like,
Yeah.
and it's like really cool. But like the other than that, a lot of it was like a darker kind of, or like a almost like a punky 80 rock kind of tone, like 90s rock. And then I thought the creep in the beginning was awesome, set the tone. I love that with Rocket. Dog Days Are Over at the end was awesome. But the fucking hallway scene where Drax rips it open and they're just jamming out and killing all the fuckers to
This is great
no
to
Sleep Till Brooklyn. Oh
yeah.
dude, it was so sick.
It was so good. Yeah, for Guardians will forever have the best soundtrack, and not just any
Yeah.
Marvel trilogy, just any really series of
Yeah.
movies ever.
Oh yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just not even close. Like it's
No.
every song. It's just like that belongs there. Um,
100%.
yeah, and then really my last point, and before I make it, I wanted to ask you in the Christmas special, do they allude to like Peter Quill? Like I know you said they go home to get his mind off Gamora or whatever, but like
Mhm.
do they like the whole thing is him returning home because he's like basically to see his grandpa because he's forgot Earth for so long.
Yeah,
Is
well,
that
no,
mentioned
so
in the
no,
thing? Because okay,
he doesn't even go home. So he's all sad on Nowhere, and Drax and Mantis go home,
oh,
and
just them go.
they help bring the spirit back. And I don't want to
Okay.
spoil it for you because it is funny too. What
Yeah.
the things that they do or whatever. But yeah, he doesn't go back. And as soon as Nebula or not Nebula, as soon as Mantis was telling Drax that, or no, it was when they were busting through the shields to get into the Corp, and Mantis was talking to Peter, and she said something about not going home. Um, because he was like scarred because that is when his mom died and whatever, and he blamed everybody, including his grandpa. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, he's gonna go home. I didn't think he was gonna leave the fucking Guardians, but I hope I imagine they'll see each other again at some point, and if not, I just hope that Chris Pratt knows Star Lord enough to not let them make anything shitty with Star Lord without
Yeah.
James Gunn. Honestly, and he's good friends with James Gunn, so hopefully he would ask him, like on the side, be like, "Hey, does this sound bad?" You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they
So
don't really mention any of that stuff.
okay, yeah. I just didn't know if they had mentioned that. Because I thought that was kind of cool. Him finding like if
Hmm.
he wasn't gonna end up with Gamora, at least it's like find your peace, go home to your family, like
Yeah,
make that amend and like
and he's gonna return.
be normal. And yeah, and the fact they said he's gonna return. If they left
Hmm.
that open and you didn't know if he was gonna return again, I think it'd be like a little bit of
Yeah,
like I
yeah.
don't know if that's your
It's
end.
like the fun because I thought that too before they said he was gonna return. I was like, so you're telling me this guy has spent 25 years in space fighting, crime, being a guardian of the galaxy, and he's going to be content sitting at home with his grandpa. You
Yeah,
know,
like what?
yeah. So that just wouldn't have made sense. So the fact that he's going to return makes sense or whatever. But man, I had another thought. So and I can't remember it. So if you have a thought, go for it.
I don't have any other thoughts.
Oh, I do. One thing that's got to be crazy about this conjoined universe too, and that in Endgame and Infinity War, a lot of it was about tying everything together, but it was also about fan service. And a lot of people were pissed that Quill didn't have um his helmet. Remember, because
Oh
so
yeah.
when his face puffed up and he almost died, right?
Yeah.
And so I thought that was kind of funny because I thought it was supposed to be a joke at first because
I thought it
and
was too.
yeah, he started puffing up and looking real gross, and I was like, "Oh my god, somebody's got to save him, right?" And so I kept looking into it, and remember in the first Guardians when he goes out and saves Gamora, his face freezes over, but he doesn't puff up. And I keep
Yeah.
trying to reach out to James Gunn, and I want him to respond to me on Twitter. I asked him if he doesn't puff up like that, and the outer space atmosphere doesn't impact him because he's still connected with the light in the first one,
Yeah.
and then it gets broken at the end, and then he's completely mortal in the third movie. So when he's out there by himself, then I want him to confirm if that's the reason because I feel like it is. But anyway, people are like, why didn't he have his helmet? Blah blah blah. And well, James Gunn broke it, I think, on purpose in the second movie when he was fighting Ego. Right, it broke. His helmet broke. I'm sure Rocket could have created a new one, but I think everything that they do is for a reason, or
Yeah.
else James Gunn would have found a way for him to have it on him during this movie if he wanted him to have it, right? But the Russo brothers were like, all right, Infinity War, Endgame, all this fan service, we have Star Lord and he needs to have his helmet, right?
Yeah.
And otherwise, I feel like James Gunn would have. So it is what it is. So he had to make up a story, and I saw him say on Twitter, and it makes sense because they got to the ship as soon as Rocket got hurt and they left, so he didn't have time to grab it. And they're like, why didn't he have his space boots? And he said because their jetpacks that Rocket made are so much better than the boots anyway. He wouldn't
Yeah.
have those.
No.
But yeah, so that was just my other thought. And honestly, we flesh this out. I think Rocket overall is a top 5 character, and it's kind of crazy. And I don't know if you see it that way, but because of his arc, I think he's great.
Yeah. I agree.
Um, I just think that overall the movie was so good that when you look at it and why he did what he did, it makes more sense rather than maybe going in with certain expectations. But also, I think that I might have had like an inside track on some things to understand it before I saw it.
Yeah.
Um, so how would you rank the 3 movies?
I Guardians One's definitely the worst of the three. It's still a great movie.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm gonna go Guardians Two at number one. Guardians Three at number three. I think I have
Yeah.
Guardians Two like one or I think I actually have it behind Guardians Three right now. I don't know. I think Guardians 3 is going to end up being a better movie and it has so much more to it than Guardians 2. But Guardians 2, dude, has just some of the most badass scenes and sad scenes.
It
I
really
watched it
does.
again recently, dude, because you told me to watch it before. So I did,
Mm-hmm.
dude, and I cried again at the Ravager's funeral. It's the most
Yeah,
beautiful
dude.
thing.
That the ending of that movie, that part right there. Well, and a lot of it too is because it is bittersweet that Yandu dies there, but he's not the main character, so it like sucks, but it doesn't hurt that bad, and it's really sad, and everyone's able to relate to that, and you're like, damn. And
Well,
then you
and
see
like,
Cragland, and everybody gets absolutely pumped when Stakar and all of the other Ravagers show up.
yeah,
So I get it. I always teeter back and forth with the first and second because I love a successful sequel when they're already together and they don't have to form the group. You don't have to go through it. But in case of the Guardians, them forming and coming together is so cool to me because then they work so well by the end of the first movie, and then that's why it bleeds so well into you just get to see their experience. So I think I got, as of right now, two at number three, but any day it can go to number two. One and two can be interchangeable.
yeah,
Number one is number two, and then number three is number one for me. The volume three is, I just I love it. But honestly, because those three movies are all my top 10 MCU movies, and to me, they're probably the most rewatchable
yeah,
because
very.
of everything you're gonna get from them. Like I love Winter Soldier, and I can watch all the MCU movies all the time, but there's not a lot of happy in that movie. But it's another reason why I love it. But
Yeah,
the Guardians are feel good movies and everything. It's great.
I agree.
I probably talked way too much here. I just been waiting so long.
No, dude, I knew this one was going to go to like an hour. That's good, dude. We get the full review in. If you're still listening and you haven't seen the movie at this point, I
Yeah,
hope you enjoyed it.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, if or you know, take your notes of what we said and go see the movie and see how bad we are at explaining a movie and let us
Yeah,
know.
100%. I just opened Twitter. Just we're just getting done with the pod. Check it out. The first thing I see is Bleacher Report, all caps. Braun chase down block, and then I look down. They're down 11 in the first quarter. And I'm like,
Oh my
did you
god.
really want to just post it like that?
Yeah,
I'm a
I got
LeBron
it on in
hater,
the
so
background here. I got it on the background here. I'm not even watching.
Jokic had 8, 12, and 5 in the first quarter.
12 assists,
12 rebounds, 5 assists in the first
dude.
quarter.
He's just he's so hard to guard because he's such a big body and he's so smart with the basketball
It's insane.
that it's just he gets to his spot and just makes passes on the market. Everybody knows that they just need to keep moving and shit too. And then Jamal Murray's playing well again, man. I don't I don't know. They're gonna be tough to beat
They're going to be
unless
tough to beat
unless
for
they can get
sure.
Jokic in foul trouble.
Yeah. So,
So we gonna see, but I'm rooting for him just because I'm a LeBron fan. I'm not a Lakers fan. It's kind of unfortunate that LeBron's on the Lakers, um, because I don't want to root for the Lakers.
yeah.
Because honestly, I know R.I.P. and you can talk facts, but you shouldn't talk shit about people that are dead. But I didn't like Kobe for a while growing up because it was like mostly it was like a bittersweet thing because I wanted the Cavs to play the Lakers in the finals, but LeBron kept choking, whatever narrative you want to
Yeah.
say. Although he would probably didn't choke, but yeah. Well,
Oh, shit.
sorry,
Well,
I've been
what?
talkative.
Don't be sorry.
We've this has been a couple weeks coming. Life hit us. I started my job last Wednesday.
Oh, yeah. How's your job going?
dude, it's pretty sick. My boss is probably anywhere between 5 and 10 years older than me, so he's like pretty young and he's really good at it. He's like
Really
not
good
too
looking
old.
dude. Do
He's
you like him
yeah,
a lot?
yeah, I like him a lot.
Is
He
he
gives
pretty?
me.
How hot is he? 1 out of 10.
I'm not gonna do this yet because I'm not. I'm only five. I'm only 5 days in, and I'm not gonna say anything weird that could get out on the internet.
Yeah,
He
true.
gives
Don't
me
do
Roy.
that.
His looks give me Roy Kent vibes though.
All right. I don't even know what the fuck that is.
From Ted Lasso.
Oh, oh, Roy Kent. I thought you said Roy Kent.
I did.
I'm just messing with you now.
Hercules. He's Hercules.
All right, we're over an hour. I'm ending this.
All right. Peace
How do
out.
you want to?
Bow,
Is
bum,
there
bum,
anything
bow, bum,
final?
bum.
Oh yeah.
Bum, bum,
Bum
bum,
bum bum
bow, bum,
bam
bum,
bum bum
bum, bum, bum,
bam bum bum.
bow.